I've had the ability to foresee disasters since childhood, escaping death multiple times. After the National Day holiday, I returned to work with my boyfriend. Before the plane took off, I had a premonition that there would be an air disaster. I stopped everyone from boarding at the gate, causing chaos and being taken away for investigation. The plane landed safely after a 5-hour delay. Passengers on board capitalized on the news buzz to live stream, calling me a cult spy. They lamented the losses caused by the flight delay and demanded full compensation from me, deliberately spreading conspiracy theories to incite online harassment against me, leading to doxing and job loss. My boyfriend reported the disaster I had predicted to the government in order to seize a promotion opportunity. He got me imprisoned for 3 years. Later, the prison collapsed, and I was crushed to death. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn, standing in front of the airport terminal. Hui hui, hui hui, my boyfriend Jingwen patted my shoulder, looking mysterious. Didn't you say you had a bad feeling today? Will the plane be able to fly? I suddenly opened my eyes, feeling dizzy and disoriented. The despair and pain of being crushed still lingered in my body, and I shrank my shoulders. Looking at the familiar scene before me, I realized I had been reborn. Just after the National Day holiday ended in my previous life, my boyfriend and I bought plane tickets to return. On the day of boarding, I came down with a fever and started vomiting. On the way to the airport, we even hit and killed a rabbit, and my finger was cut by a hairpin, bleeding profusely. I was terrified deep down, so I kept urging Zhengwen to change his flight, but Zhengwen scolded me for being superstitious. He said in front of fellow passengers in the waiting area that I was mentally weak and seeing ghosts where there were none. If this continued, he'd have me transferred to a psychiatric hospital. I couldn't stand the strange looks from the passengers around me, so I had to shut up and stop talking. Unexpectedly, after the plane started boarding, a scene of the aircraft exploding suddenly flashed before my eyes. For everyone's safety, I blocked the boarding gate and strongly demanded that the flight attendants check the plane's safety. I insisted that all passengers undergo security checks again. No one would believe my prophecy. So I had to lie and say I saw someone carrying a bomb when entering the airport, but my boyfriend stood up at that moment and accused me of being mentally ill. In their eagerness to board the plane sooner, the passengers in the waiting room all ganged up against me. They all said I was sick, that I was deliberately disrupting airport order. Despite this, after the staff took me away for investigation, they still rechecked the passengers. The plane was also inspected again. Hearing the news of the plane's safe landing in the interrogation room, I was completely relieved, but I never expected this to be the beginning of my nightmare. This incident was quickly posted online and sparked widespread discussion. Passengers on that flight were all complaining bitterly. They said the flight was delayed for 5 hours in total, disrupting all their planned activities. One boss live-streamed that he lost a major deal worth hundreds of millions. There were also women in the live stream saying they missed their wedding dates. In short, my photo information was doxed, and I faced widespread online backlash and insults. I was fired by the company, and strangers would throw stones and eggs at me when I walked on the street. For a long time, I didn't dare to leave my house. My boyfriend not only failed to comfort me but also gathered evidence to sue me in court. He accused me of spreading inappropriate remarks for decades and being a cult member, sentencing me to 3 years in prison on the spot. When my boyfriend came to visit me in prison, his face was full of smugness. I asked him why, and he replied viciously, "How could the company possibly decide to make you the CFO? What gives you the right? You're just a woman. What makes you think you can outrank me?" Later, I predicted the prison would collapse, but no one believed me. I was locked in solitary confinement and was crushed to death. After my death, I saw many people from that flight ride on my fame to become internet celebrities, starting live streaming sales. Seeing my boyfriend land the position of financial director, I'm not resigned to this. I'm not resigned. Hui hui, hui hui, what are you thinking about? I'm talking to you. Zhengwen nudged my shoulder, sounding somewhat impatient. The girl wearing a blue cap next to her chimed in. "We were supposed to board in 5 minutes. Why hasn't the plane arrived yet? I'm getting married tomorrow. If I can't make it back today and miss my wedding, the airline will pay for it." The blue-capped girl flashed her pigeon egg-sized engagement ring, drawing envious glances from many around her. A black-bearded man carrying a briefcase kept checking his watch. "I've got a billion-dollar deal waiting for my signature. They can afford to compensate for delaying my business with their airline wages. Wow, big boss, huh?" A few people gathered around to chat them up. Looking at these two faces, I was so furious I wanted to rush forward and tear their mouths apart. If others were merely cold spectators, these two were executioner vampires. They gained online fame by insulting, belittling, and suspecting me, Su Wenhui. Zheng Wen finally couldn't take it anymore and shouted my name. Suppressing the hatred in my heart, I looked at the most deserving person and calmly said, "What did you say? I didn't hear it just now. Since they repaid kindness with enmity in their past lives, let them all board that doomed flight in this lifetime." Zheng Wen snapped impatiently, "I'm asking you whether this flight can take off." I smiled and replied, "Of course it can." My answer surprised Zheng Wen, who frowned and kept questioning me repeatedly. "Can it really fly? Didn't you just say you had a bad feeling? Didn't you dream last night that the plane would crash? Then this morning you hit a rabbit and cut your finger. You said on the way here these were ominous signs." Zheng Wen spoke loudly, deliberately making sure everyone could hear what he was saying. About to board a plane. Hearing such ominous words, all eyes turned toward me. Some were worried, some disdainful, but most found me unlucky. Zheng Wen had pushed me into the spotlight with just a few words. Outside the massive glass windows, thunder rumbled loudly. Zheng Wen's pressing voice rose after the thunder. "Hui, do you think the plane can fly?" I looked at my boyfriend in front of me and recalled the words he had spoken in prison in my past life. Suddenly, I realized I might have been set up. The rabbit that was hit, the cut finger, aside from nightmares, these could all have been man-made. Maybe he's just trying to pressure my nerves to drive me crazy and seize the CFO position. This thought sent chills down my spine. Facing Zheng Wen's gaze, I firmly replied, "Of course it can fly. I'm in a hurry to get back to work. It definitely can fly." "What rabbit? Don't be superstitious. It's so unlucky to talk about these things right before boarding." I smiled at everyone and spoke up first. My boyfriend might be a little nervous. This time, I won't give him the chance to dirty my name by calling me crazy. "Country bumpkin, is this your first time on a plane? Getting comforted by a little girl? How pathetic. What terrible luck, spouting such nonsense. I'm about to get married. I don't need to hear this kind of stuff." Whispers broke out, and I saw Zheng Wen's face turn bright red. He was so angry he gritted his teeth. Calmly, I opened my phone. I needed to change my flight. Just cancel the check-in, otherwise, if I don't board the plane, it would look very suspicious. Zheng Wen suddenly leaned in and whispered, "Hui, something's off with you." I can't describe the fear and oppression Zheng Wen brought me. He stared intently at my phone and let out two eerie laughs. "You wouldn't be thinking of secretly changing your flight, would you?" My heart sank, and I quickly glared at him. "Are you crazy? How could that be possible?" "You don't know yet, but I heard through the grapevine that the company is about to promote me to CFO. I'm so eager to return now. I can't wait to get back to accept my appointment and prepare a victory banquet." There was no other way. I had to throw out this piece of information to confuse Zheng Wen. I couldn't let him become suspicious. This scumbag had to board the plane. Sure enough, after I said these things, Zheng Wen's face twitched strangely. His expression grew even more unnatural. "Really? Congratulations then." I pressed my advantage. "What, don't you want to hurry back? Is it that the plane can't fly, or that you don't want it to fly? Everyone waiting here has urgent matters. Can't you be less selfish?" I imitated Zheng Wen's manner, speaking loudly enough for the entire waiting room to hear. "Is this young man crazy? I've got a billion-dollar deal to discuss. Are young people nowadays all so selfish? They have no morals at all." The discussion resumed. With Zheng Wen busy explaining, I quietly took my ID card from the bag and whispered, "I'm going to the restroom." This time, I held the moral high ground in the public opinion. I had just stood up when my boyfriend's voice suddenly rang out. "My girlfriend knows tarot. Why don't we have her predict whether we can fly? Hui, come quick, everyone's waiting for you." Zheng Wen's voice sounded like a demon's whisper, carrying a chilling undertone. "Is it real or fake? Little girl, show us what you've got. I've never seen tarot cards before. This is great. I'll get to see something new. Since the flight's already delayed, might as well have some fun to kill time." A chorus of voices chimed in. Zheng Wen smiled at me. Hui, don't refuse. Is there something on your mind?" I had to admit that scoundrel Zheng Wen was particularly sharp in certain aspects. To prevent him from noticing anything unusual, I had no choice but to sit back down with icy hands and feet. Zheng Wen took out my newly bought tarot cards from his backpack, and a dozen people in the waiting area all gathered around. My fingers stiffly touched the cards. Soon, the three drawn cards revealed increasingly ominous meanings, one after another. It was a dire omen. How could I possibly tell them about such a thing? I smiled and said, "According to my prediction, we'll definitely take off today." The group exchanged glances. The bearded man crossed his arms and grumbled, "What good is taking off today? What about my business?" I smiled gently. you can reschedule your flight, the black-bearded man sneered. What's the point of changing flights in this damn weather? Just as I was about to put away the cards and get up to go to the bathroom, the woman in the blue hat suddenly screamed, "No, these 3 cards clearly mean the plane will crash with no survivors. How dare you lie to us?" At these words, everyone gathered around again. Zhengwen frowned and glared at me. "Hui, what do you mean by this? Do you want everyone to die?" He gripped my wrist tightly and shouted his accusation. My heart instantly leaped into my throat, and soon I spread my hands helplessly. "Sorry, everyone, the truth is I don't know how either. I usually just like to bluff and put on a show. As you can see, the tarot cards are brand new and still sealed. Didn't expect to run into an expert." I was filled with shame, then turned to ask the blue-hatted one, "Sis, it's so dangerous. Why don't we all just change our flights? Is this thing accurate? It looks like my return to the company will be delayed. What should I do, sis?" I pointed the finger at the blue hat. Tarot cards aren't exactly mainstream to begin with, and many elderly passengers simply didn't buy into it. "I've got a billion-dollar deal. Our Yaozu is still waiting for me at home to make dinner." No, I can't change my ticket. I have to go back to collect rent." A cacophony of voices swallowed up Blue Hat. When everyone looked at her, their eyes were filled with urgent questioning and accusations. Blue Hat's face flushed red with anger as she shouted, "Enough, stop slandering me, you bitch. I never said I wanted everyone to change their flights. I'm in a hurry to get back for my wedding. How could I possibly reschedule for tomorrow? If anyone's to blame, it's her boyfriend for doing such an unlucky thing." The crowd's flushed faces kept shifting expressions. As I watched the plane returning to the runway, my anxiety grew. Coincidentally, Zhengwen was using this incident to argue vehemently with everyone. I excused myself to go to the bathroom and left this troublesome place. As soon as I reached the bathroom, I opened the app on my phone. It showed that I had already cancelled my check-in and rebooked my flight for tomorrow. Now all I had to think about was how to handle the police interrogation after the plane crash. This time, no one can correct me anymore, because the dead don't speak. I stood in the bathroom for half an hour, almost missing the boarding time for the flight. Zhengwen suddenly sent a message. Hui, are you still in the bathroom? Why aren't you boarding? There's really something wrong with this flight, isn't there? Reading this message sent chills down my spine. The best response I could think of was to start an argument. Whether it was the property deed bearing only his name or his mother secretly selling my gold bracelet. The things he thought I didn't know about during this holiday, just casually mention one, and he'll have to solve it right now, immediately. He runs faster than anyone else. I know him too well. Right at that moment, my best friend Lu Qing called, accompanied by the ding-dong sounds of WeChat notifications. She seems to have sent a lot of things. As soon as the call connected, her drunken voice came through. Hui, what should I do? I'm pregnant with Zhengwen's child. Break up with him, okay? Woo, my child can't grow up without a father. Lu Qing's words struck me like a bolt from the blue, leaving me utterly stunned. At this time in my previous life, I was already busy trying to stop everyone from boarding the plane. I simply didn't have time to answer phone calls. But this phone call was perfect. I pretended to be furious and gave Lu Qing a thorough scolding, deliberately positioning myself under the surveillance camera near the sink. Passers-by cast strange glances, and some even stopped to eavesdrop. This was exactly the effect I wanted. After hanging up the call with Lu Qing, I immediately called Zhengwen. He answered quickly. An irritated and anxious voice came through. Su Wenhui, we're already lining up to board. What the hell are you doing? I tried to make my voice sound cold. Let's not fly anymore. Come out, we're going back first. As soon as I said this, Zhengwen on the other side seemed to suddenly breathe a sigh of relief. I knew there was something wrong with the plane. If we're not flying, then we're not flying. You should have said so earlier, I sneered. When did you start getting involved with Lu Qing? You shameless adulterers. No wonder only your name is on the property deed. Zhengwen, do you realize I paid for this house's renovation? Lu Qing has even called me about this. Today, I demand an explanation. Let's go back. The 3 of us will confront this face to face. Before he could utter another word, I blurted out all my frustrations in a torrent. Sure enough, silence fell on the other end of the line. Zhengwen, you scumbag, are you even listening to me? Get your ass out here right now. My voice was extremely loud, and Zhengwen took a long moment before speaking. Hui, I can explain this matter. But there's something urgent at the company. We can't let personal matters delay work. Don't you agree? Zhengwen was changing the subject again. I knew he just didn't want to deal with the mess, but it didn't matter. Soon he won't even have a mess to deal with. Go to hell, you scumbag." I pretended to be hysterical and screamed at the top of my lungs, "Work? What's work worth? At worst, I'll just quit. I've never been treated like this before, get the hell out here." After saying these 2 sentences, there seemed to be a faint chuckle on the other end of the phone. Perhaps he wanted to use this recording as proof that I'm not serious about my work, and then use it to bring me down. It doesn't matter anymore, he'll never get that chance. "Zhengwen, hui, I've already boarded the plane, let's not talk for now, maybe you should go home and calm down, we can talk again once you've cooled off." With that, he immediately hung up the phone. Afraid of hearing me speak again, the airport is covered with surveillance everywhere. Since we're putting on a show, we might as well make it convincing. I started leaving the airport, constantly calling mutual friends along the way, condemning the despicable behavior of these 2 individuals. After taking a ride back to the city, I went straight to Lu Qing's doorstep, banging on her door with a cleaver so loudly it shook the heavens. A neighbor glanced at me quickly and then quietly closed the door, probably went to call the police. It doesn't matter, make a scene, the bigger the better. Lu Qing hid inside, afraid to come out. While I kept banging on the door, she called to warn me, "Su Wenhui, I'm telling you, I've already called the police. You've been with Zhang Wen for so many years and couldn't have a child, but I got pregnant right after we got together. His mother already said that house is mine. And I'll be the lady of the house from now on, ha 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 ha. When the police come, you're going to jail." I ignored her and just kept pounding on the door. The nearest police station was only 3 kilometers away, and it didn't take long for 2 uniformed officers to arrive. I cooperated fully by throwing away the knife. "Comrade, that bitch inside is sleeping with my boyfriend in my own house. She's even pregnant." The 2 police officers exchanged glances, their eyes revealing helpless expressions, but they still followed procedure and took both of us to the police station's mediation room. In the mediation room, Lu Qing remained as arrogant as ever. She touched her belly and lifted her chin toward me. "The baby in my belly is Zheng Wen's child. He can't possibly abandon his own flesh and blood, just wait to be dumped. Is that so? That baby in the belly might soon be fatherless. Lu Qing, you should break up with him yourself. Otherwise things will get too ugly, and you'll be the one who suffers. His mother likes me so much. She gave me a gold bracelet right after we met." Lu Qing deliberately raised her hand, revealing the gold bracelet on her wrist. I took a closer look. That was the one I lost. At that very moment, a police officer suddenly walked in and whispered something to the other 2, then everyone's gaze turned toward me. I knew. The plane must have exploded by now. "Ms. Su Wenhui, please come with me to the interrogation room. There are a few things we'd like to confirm with you." When the police took me away, Lu Qing was still shouting loudly, "Got caught doing too many shady things, didn't you? Ha ha ha, you're not even worthy of competing with me, we have a child together." Lu Qing's voice was cut off by the closing door behind me. Sitting in the interrogation room, the officer indeed brought up the news about that crashed flight. It was said to have collided with a flock of birds during landing, ultimately crashing on a hillside. Only 4 survivors were seated at the very front in this air disaster. They are currently in the intensive care unit. The police said someone accused me, claiming I couldn't be separated from this plane crash. I would have laughed if I weren't sitting in the interrogation room with me. Can I control birds or remotely pilot airplanes? But given the gravity of the incident and the heavy casualties, authorities won't overlook any unnatural factors. Although I could tell those 2 interrogating officers also found it utterly absurd. "A passenger accused you of saying the plane would crash. Ms. Su, why did you change your flight after checking in?" The police were just going through the motions, and my responses were completely airtight. I just received a provocative call from the mistress at the airport and, in a fit of anger, came to confront her. As for me saying the plane would crash, I deny it. I never said any of those things. After patiently giving statements for a long time, even Lu Qing was involved and had to give statements. In the end, they found nothing suspicious about me and let me go. Before leaving, I asked the police, "Is my boyfriend Zheng Wen among the survivors?" Lu Qing, who came out with me, widened her eyes and stared at me intently. "What are you talking about? What survivor? That's nonsense." Both the police officer and I fell silent, our gazes simultaneously dropping to Lu Qing. The father of her unborn child was now in the intensive care unit. After a long silence, the police officer finally patted my shoulder, tacitly acknowledging my question. I forced a smile and left the police station. Truly, the wicked live 1,000 years. Even such a devastating air crash couldn't finish off this scum. No doubt all these charges the police mentioned are related to Zheng Wen. he still can't stand to see me doing well and wants to drag me down with him. Thinking of this, I specifically looked up the hospital where Zheng Wen was staying. I planned to visit him and see who the survivors were this time. A few days later, at the Provincial People's Hospital, I finally met Zheng Wen as I had hoped. His body was wrapped in bandages, his left leg was missing, and his face bore extensive burns. One eye rolled nimbly toward me, utterly terrifying. Worthless. Zheng Wen's hand trembled as he pointed at me, his whole body convulsing. I gave a cold laugh and stepped forward. Long time no see. Zheng Wen stared at me fiercely, but I paid no attention and just continued speaking on my own. Thanks to you and Lu Qing, I didn't board that plane. Looking back now, I really was incredibly lucky. You two are practically my guardian angels. I heard Lu Qing is expecting a baby. That's wonderful. No need to worry about having no heirs now. Zheng Wen couldn't speak, but his gaze was as cold as a knife. He wished he could tear me to pieces, yet his suffering was not even 1/10,000th of what I endured in my past life. Seeing Zheng Wen so furious that he wanted to sit up and strangle me, I continued peeling an apple for him, casually remarking while doing so, "Don't blame me for only coming to see you now. I just got promoted to CFO recently, and the company has been piling tasks on me. Too busy, so busy I barely have time to eat. That's why I'm late visiting you. When you and Lu Qing get married someday, I'll come drink at your wedding." I placed the apple on the plate, waved at him, and turned to leave. Behind me, Zheng Wen struggled to curse at me but ended up falling off the bed instead. The commotion was so loud that many medical staff rushed into the room, but what does that have to do with me? I saw the figure of that blue-hatted woman among the survivors and couldn't help but feel a chill. In the real world, good people die young while the wicked live for 1,000 years, but I heard she lost both her eyes and her legs, and will have to use a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Her fiancé, who was about to marry her, called off the wedding overnight upon hearing the tragic news. Return all her dowry. Who knows if she'll ever meet another husband who can give her a diamond the size of a pigeon egg in her remaining years. The only thing that makes me happy is that black-bearded uncle is dead. Good riddance. Died a worthy death. In my past life, when I died, they profited immensely from me. This lifetime, I wish them increasingly tragic fates. After leaving the hospital, the turbulent emotions I had felt since my rebirth finally settled. It was time to embrace a new life, but I never expected that this matter was far from over. Not long after, nearly identical public opinion posts to those from my previous life began to spread online. Because I changed my flight at the last minute, I became highly suspicious. There were many inflammatory posts online. Some so-called metaphysical masters even claimed I was using the entire plane to extend my own life. They made it sound so convincing that many people actually believed it. The survivor with the blue hat went live again. This live stream took place right in the hospital. She's a witch. She practices witchcraft. She predicted the plane would crash using tarot cards. During the stream, the pale-faced blue-hatted survivor wept with swollen eyes. She shared her tragic experience with netizens, her career plummeting, her husband abandoning her. Soon, it sparked a massive wave of attention. As her opposing figure, I naturally became the target of widespread criticism. Although throughout the entire incident, Blue Hat seemed to hold absolute dominance, but I knew Zheng Wen must have been pulling strings behind the scenes. Within days, countless victims' families emerged, demanding an explanation from me. They wanted answers. Some even went as far as gathering outside my company building, just to throw rotten eggs at me. Someone organized a demonstration outside the company building. Under pressure, the company had no choice but to suspend me temporarily. While I was holed up at home, Lu Qing called. "See, I told you this would come back to bite you, Su Wenhui. Don't celebrate too soon. Let me tell you, even lying in bed, Zheng Wen still possesses the most powerful mind. Just wait until your reputation is ruined." Lu Qing's voice on the phone was full of smugness. She hung up before I could say a word. "Seems like you came specifically to mock me. Sometimes I really can't understand. Lu Qing and I grew up together. We've known each other for 22 years. I was even the one who bought her first birthday cake. I never thought they would end up hurting me like this behind my back. In my past life, I didn't believe Lu Qing was completely innocent. She knew everything but never warned me or spoke up for me. It shows that in her eyes, our 22 years of friendship meant nothing." Public opinion online continues to ferment. But it doesn't matter. I've already found a way to counterattack. Isn't it just a competition of who's worse off? Who can't do that? Unlike their baseless claims without evidence, I actually have proof. I wasn't surprised when Zheng Wen's mother showed up at my doorstep. with her son involved in such a major incident while I emerged unscathed and even got promoted with a raise, it's only natural she couldn't sit still. I saw the surveillance footage at the door. Zheng Wen's mother even brought 2 strong women with her. As soon as I opened the door, Zheng Wen's mother rushed in. "I'll beat you to death, you husband-killing little bitch. Ever since our Zheng Wen got together with you, he's been losing money and having bad luck. Why don't women like you just die sooner? You insist on coming out to ruin men's lives." Zheng Wen's mother grabbed me and started hitting me, while the other 2 women went on a rampage, smashing everything in my room. I screamed and ran around, deliberately tripping and falling, getting quite scraped up. His mother was sitting on top of me, hitting me. In no time, my house was completely trashed. In the end, it was the neighbors who called the police to pull them apart. I crouched on the ground, covering my head, covered in injuries. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl into a smile. Pretty good. I must make this mother and son pay the price. I didn't call the police, I was just waiting. Over these dozens of days, survivors and relatives of the victims kept calling to harass and insult me. I never fought back, just kept apologizing endlessly. Late at night, I received a message from Zheng Wen. "You bitch, I won't let you off easy either. Just a mere woman, what makes you think the company would promote you? You shameless bitch must have slept with the boss. You worthless slut. Damn whore, not so proud now, are you? Go to hell." Reading such letters didn't anger me, I just kept saving them all. Compared to Zheng Wen lying sick in bed, Lu Qing, with all her limbs intact, was even more arrogant and smug. She wore gold and silver, passing by downstairs from my house every day. I paid no attention, I was just waiting for an opportunity. Soon that opportunity arrived. 3 days later, in a hotel conference room, the families of the victims and survivors of this air disaster were holding a memorial service. With journalists and media outlets covering the event, the memorial service attracted widespread social attention, with many netizens live-streaming the entire event. On my way there, I saw Zheng Wen's mother singing and dancing right in the center of the conference room. She burned stacks of joss paper while clutching her chest and weeping bitterly. She was nearly fainting from grief. "My son, how could you suffer so terribly? The company was about to promote him, that wicked Su Wenhui. Evil creature, how come my son is still lying in bed while she's out there living it up and spending extravagantly? Why couldn't it have been her who died?" I couldn't help but sneer. At least Zheng Wen is still alive, unlike the other victims who didn't even leave behind bodies. She really loves being dramatic. And Lu Qing, her belly was already protruding. Lu Qing knelt beside Zheng Wen's mother without hesitation, her makeup smeared from crying. "Su Wenhui is cold and heartless. After 20 years of friendship, when I was in urgent need and asked her for money, she refused. Now she's in the big city, she's always looked down on us folks from small towns." Speaking of which, it reminds me, half a year ago, Lu Qing's mother fell ill and asked to borrow 100,000 yuan from me. I had her sign an IOU, and she seemed a bit upset at the time. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now it seems she really didn't want to sign an IOU. Even brothers keep clear accounts. I don't consider 100,000 yuan a small amount. I was even worried she wouldn't be able to repay the money anytime soon, so I told her I wasn't in a hurry to get it back. Little did I know, not only did I lose 100,000 yuan, but I also earned myself a reputation for being cold and heartless, conscience-fed to dogs. It's only human nature to feel envious and unhappy when seeing others doing well, not to mention I'm the ultimate survivor of this disaster. Soon it drew collective condemnation from everyone. The blue-hatted figure stood imposingly among them, spreading wild rumors to deceive the masses. Her boyfriend said it himself. She kept refusing to board the plane that morning. She even claimed to have dreamed about the plane crashing. According to her boyfriend, they ran over a rabbit on their way out that morning. Her hand was pricked until blood streamed down. Originally, both of them were supposed to change their flights, but somehow only her ex-boyfriend ended up boarding the plane. Isn't this murder? If she had shared this premonition earlier, none of us would have boarded the plane. The blue-hatted man's words only further inflamed the crowd's emotions. They all started cursing at me together, as if I were the one who had crashed the plane. The online live stream was flooded with all sorts of mystical and superstitious comments. I soon arrived at the memorial service venue, after turning off the live stream. I resolutely pushed the door open and walked in. "Don't worry, I've already arranged for bodyguards among the crowd." "Why is she here? That's Su Wenhui," whispers continued incessantly. I walked to the front under everyone's gaze. The few people standing at the very front glared at me with bloodshot eyes, as if they could tear me apart. "That's Su Wenhui, the blue-hatted woman was agitated, pointing at my face as she rushed forward trying to hit me. Someone in the crowd stopped her. I faced everyone with 2 tears streaming down my face. I deeply sympathize with everyone's suffering, but I must clear my own name. I actually have new evidence to provide regarding the widely discussed tarot card incident online, as well as the conspiracy theories. Without giving anyone time to react, I immediately played a recording. My girlfriend, sorry everyone, actually I don't know how either. The tarot cards are newly bought and still unopened, sis. Why don't we just change our flights together? This is the recording from our time at the airport that day, when everyone fell silent. Soon, the voice of the blue hat came through. Shut your filthy mouth. I didn't. Got married. How could I possibly change my ticket? Blame her boyfriend for insisting on doing such an unlucky thing. At this point, the recording ends, and the matter concerning the tarot cards becomes clear. Everyone turned to look at Blue Hat, who was losing control of her emotions. How dare you record? What gives you the right to record? I'm completely innocent, I said with an innocent face. Sorry, I was actually planning to record my daily life with Zheng Wen. We've always had this habit. Seeing the situation turning sour, Zheng Wen's mother stood up and shouted, then why didn't you change the flight when my son repeatedly asked to? Why did you change your flight at the last minute again? She questioned me loudly, once again turning the spearhead toward me. That's why, you must give us an explanation. Someone in the crowd shouted again, but I remained completely calm. I turned on the projector, and the huge screen displayed the PowerPoint presentation I had prepared earlier. It was a fully complete chain of evidence. The dead rabbit Zheng Wen purchased, along with the video he took of me pinning it to my hairpin, as well as various search records on how to mentally break down a girlfriend. I pointed at the evidence on the screen and said, this is what Zheng Wen meant by, I've always had a bad feeling. Everyone was shocked. They hadn't expected such a twist in the story. The number of viewers in the live stream surged, and the barrage of comments flew by rapidly. Zheng Wen's mom was the first to lose her cool. She rushed out trying to turn off the computer, but someone stopped her. You're slandering us. You fabricated evidence. I ignored her insults and instead picked up the megaphone to address the topic everyone cared about most. As for why I suddenly changed my flight, it's because my boyfriend cheated on me. The mistress called me to flaunt her pregnancy. As I spoke, I clicked on the recording on the screen, and Lu Qing's smug voice immediately blared out, something about how her child couldn't be without a father. You guys should break up already. Such remarks only made people angrier, and everyone's gaze toward Lu Qing changed. Lu Qing's face turned red. Seems she knows how to spell moral bottom line, otherwise she wouldn't be left speechless. As for the call recording with Zheng Wen, I've also saved it. While playing it, I explained aloud, these recordings are meant to serve as evidence for future lawsuits. My voice was calm. The netizens who were just watching the drama in the live stream all sided with me this time. The family members also calmed down. After all, this air disaster wasn't my fault. While wiping my tears, I bowed to everyone. I'm truly sorry, everyone. I didn't want to come forward and hurt you all again. But the cyberbullying and harassment from my ex-boyfriend's mother have made it impossible for me to live normally. I've displayed all the abusive and threatening messages Zheng Wen sent me on the big screen, even the video of his mother coming to hit me that day. No one spoke anymore. Netizens erupted in criticism, their emotions running even higher. Since it involved workplace gender conflicts, it easily ignited fierce debates. Thus, the controversy came to an end, when I also became a victim. The inexplicable hostility lessened considerably. Moreover, I had already seized the moral high ground in the court of public opinion online. I resumed my normal work, and sued Zheng Wen's mother in court. She deliberately assaulted, committed home invasion, and even stole my gold bracelet. All of these were clearly recorded on surveillance footage. She was quickly arrested by the police. As for Lu Qing, I sent her all the flirtatious chat records Zheng Wen had with female colleagues at the company. A man who can cheat would never settle for just one mistress. Much later, I heard Su Qing stab Zheng Wen. Great, another scumbag deserves hell. My good days are rolling forward. Another National Day holiday returning home. I didn't choose to fly this time. Sitting on the high-speed train, gazing at the endless fields made me drowsy. In my drowsiness, I seemed to dream again. Crash, previous life extra, no survivors, dead at last. Su Wenhui was finally dead. Having served as the company's financial director for 3 years, Zheng Wen couldn't help but clap his hands in delight upon hearing the news. That woman deserved to die. Who asked her to meddle in others' affairs? He just couldn't stand seeing her doing better than him. Zheng Wen now has both a son and daughter. thriving in both family and career. He wanted to show off his wealth by splitting money with Su Wenhui, to flaunt his success. Zheng Wen deliberately parked his newly acquired luxury car by the roadside, reveling in the attention from passers-by, just stepped out of the company building. Smack, the billboard on the rooftop fell, crushing Zheng Wen into pulp. Blue Hat and Black Beard got married. Now the two are high-traffic couple bloggers. Su Wenhui's death meant nothing to them. At most, they sighed briefly. They had built their fortune by feeding on Su Wenhui's flesh and blood. That night, while flirting in the bathroom, they slipped on spilled shower gel and were both strangled by a clothesline. The police arrived and ruled it a suicide. What else could it be if not suicide? Is death coming? After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. On the 7th day after Grandma's passing, her spirit returned, saying she had gained some divine power to fulfill the descendants' wishes. Uncle, who had lost a leg, wished for a sound body, and his crippled leg immediately restored. Second uncle wished for overnight riches, and the winning call came through immediately. Third aunt, aged and faded, wished to regain her youth, and in the next second, she was young again. Cousin's desire for peerless beauty, elder cousin's dream job with an annual salary of $1 million, all came true one by one. When it was my turn, Grandma, who had always doted on me, suddenly changed her tone and spoke sharply. A fatherless and motherless brat like you isn't qualified to make wishes. After Grandma died, her corpse was left lying in the courtyard. Uncle and second uncle kept pushing the responsibility back and forth, unwilling to contribute a single cent or lift a finger. Third aunt sneered contemptuously, shouting, "Bah, she never thought of me when she was alive. Why should I care now that she's dead?" The corpse lay there for 7 days, filling the entire courtyard with a stench of decay. It wasn't until the village chief couldn't stand it anymore that he urged them to return and handle Grandma's funeral arrangements. No sooner had the village chief left than the family began arguing. The eldest uncle kicked the coffin and cursed, "Damn old hag, couldn't you have died somewhere else instead of at home?" The coffin was kicked into a swirl by an iron prosthetic leg, causing the lid to slide off partially from the force. Uncle 1 was furious. Grabbing Uncle 2 by the collar, he roared, "Didn't I tell you to carry that damned old woman to the back mountain and let her die on her own? You can't even handle such a simple task, and now we have to deal with her corpse." Uncle 2 wasn't about to back down either. Shoving Uncle 1 away forcefully, he snapped, "How the hell was I supposed to know she'd have the strength to come back? If I'd known, I'd have bashed her skull in before leaving." Uncle was pushed backward and fell against the coffin, causing the lid to slide off completely. I cautiously peeked my head out from the doorway, accidentally locking eyes with third aunt, startling me. Third aunt quickly stepped forward, grabbed my ear, and flung me into the courtyard. Another slap came flying. "Speak, was it you who carried Grandma back?" Uncle 1 and Uncle 2 stopped and turned to look at me in unison. "You wretched brat. That old hag was too sick to even move. How could she have come back on her own? It must have been you." Uncle 2 snarled viciously. Uncle 1 rose from leaning against the coffin, grabbing a broken chair leg as he advanced toward me. I covered my ears and curled into a ball, blood trickling through my fingers and seeping into the ground. Just as the stick was about to hit me, a voice rang out, "My good children have come back to see me." It was Grandma's voice. The foul smell permeating the yard vanished instantly, replaced by the scent of incense ashes wafting through the air. The 3 standing figures froze instantly, the color draining from their faces. The eldest uncle, being the bravest, mustered his courage and turned his head. Grandma was sitting upright in the square coffin, her complexion rosy, smiling at them. The eldest uncle glared at Grandma, advancing step by step. When he saw her chest rising and falling, a surge of anger welled up inside him. "Damn it, stop playing tricks, you old hag." Third aunt also snapped back sarcastically, "Mom, forcing us to visit you with such tricks, at your age, you should be ashamed." Second uncle spat on the ground, "Damn it, always causing trouble." He then grabbed a hemp rope from the wall. "Let's see how you come back this time." Grandma turned a deaf ear. Standing up on her own and straightening her burial clothes, she lifted her leg to step out of the coffin, walked to the table, and poured herself a glass of water. Only then did they notice something unusual about Grandma. Her once shaky legs now moved steadily, her previously hunched and bent body stood remarkably straight, and even her usually timid demeanor now carried an air of calm composure. The 3 uncles dared not make any moves for the moment. Only after Grandma drank a pot of water did she calmly explain the reasons behind these changes. She said that after her death, she had gone to the realm of the immortals. The immortals, moved by her hardships in raising children and her accumulated merits from past lives, granted her special permission to return during the seventh-day mourning period. She also mentioned that she had pleaded before the immortals and secured 3 wishes for the descendants of the Lee family. Aunt San naturally didn't believe it and mocked sarcastically, "If you really had this ability, wouldn't you revive your most precious youngest son first? Stop pretending to be mysterious in broad daylight." She exchanged glances with Uncle Da and Uncle Air, signaling them to leave with her. Uncle Da didn't move, staring intently at Grandma, who sat upright. Aunt San grew somewhat impatient. "Don't tell me you actually believe this. Give it a try. You won't lose anything by trying." After saying this, the uncle suddenly knelt down and prayed devoutly, "I want a healthy body." He then kowtowed 3 times with a loud thud. Minutes passed. But nothing happened. "Auntie, I told you, if that damned old woman really had such powers, she would have brought her youngest son back to life long ago. You're all fools beyond belief." Uncle clenched his teeth, radiating hostility as he strode toward Grandma. Second uncle brandished the hemp rope in his hand and followed suit. The next instant, Uncle lay wailing on the ground. His originally iron prosthetic limb twisted and deformed before finally detaching. Uncle's crippled leg actually fully recovered. Second uncle froze for just a moment before snapping back to reality and immediately kneeling by Grandma's legs. Mom, I want to get rich overnight." The next second, a phone call came in. Second uncle picked up his phone. It was the lottery shop owner. "Mr. Lee, that lottery ticket you asked me to buy for you yesterday just won 1 million yuan. Second uncle wept and laughed simultaneously, kowtowing forcefully several times toward Grandma. Third aunt pushed second uncle aside and clung to Grandma's leg. "Mom, I want to reverse aging. I want eternal youth." Cousins who rushed over upon hearing the news began making their wishes one after another. "I want peerless beauty. I want a great job with an annual salary of 1 million. My cousin visibly became more beautiful, and my cousin immediately received an offer from a listed company. When it was my turn, the calm and composed grandmother turned fierce. "You're just a parentless girl. You have no right to make wishes." The previously wary group immediately let out a sigh of relief. Uncle, using his good leg, kicked me and chimed in, Exactly. Third aunt, now restored to her youth, put down her mirror and looked at me suspiciously, whispering to second uncle, "This doesn't make sense. Grandma always favored her the most. How could she not let her make a wish?" Grandma set down her teacup and said, "Blame your parents. They enjoyed all the family's resources while they were alive, leaving your uncles and aunts to suffer. It's only right that debts of the father are repaid by the son." "That's right. If it weren't for supporting your father through college back then, I wouldn't have ended up disabled," Uncle raged indignantly. Third aunt's grip on the mirror suddenly tightened. "If it weren't for your father, I wouldn't have suffered such humiliation back then, stripped naked and thrown onto the street. If your father hadn't cut off my path to wealth back then, I'd be rich by now." Second uncle grumbled resentfully, "Exactly. Your parents drained my parents dry while they were alive, and now after their death, our whole family still has to take care of you. They sucked my parents' blood when alive, and now you're sucking mine. You eat and use everything from our family, so your wish should be given to me." My cousin and elder brother were furious. I knelt on the ground, trembling uncontrollably. After my parents had the accident and were still in the hospital fighting for their lives, my uncle rushed into our home and took my father's car. I rushed home to get the bankbook, only to be tied up by third aunt and hung on a tree, enduring the cold wind for a full day and night. Second uncle barged into the hospital and caused a scene, disrupting the doctor's efforts to save my parents, causing them to miss the critical window for treatment. After my parents passed away, the 3 of them divided the compensation money, but they ended up in a huge fight because they couldn't agree on how to split it. Finally, the village chief stepped in and demanded that each family take turns looking after me. My eldest uncle was addicted to gambling. When debt collectors came knocking, he would force me to kowtow to them and even suggested that they could do whatever they wanted with me if they'd just give him 2 more days. My second uncle loved to steal. Whenever he got caught, he would break one of my legs and drag me around to play the victim, crying about how hard it was to raise me. My third aunt was promiscuous. To please her lover, she drugged me and sent me to his bed. This is what they called taking care of me. This is what they called sucking their blood. Grandma looked at my curled up figure and interrupted their argument. "Enough. Each person only gets 3 chances, and you can use them once a month." After speaking, He slowly closed his eyes, unresponsive to any calls. This old thing was useless alive, but now that he's dead, he's actually useful. Too bad we can only use it once a month. I should have wished for riches first. I obediently stepped aside with respect, though in truth, I wouldn't make a wish. Even if I were allowed to make a wish, I wouldn't dare to, because Grandma wasn't really Grandma. Uncle and second uncle secretly carried Grandma to a desolate mountain several kilometers away when no one in the village was paying attention. After returning home from school, I was frantic with worry when I didn't see Grandma. My cousin, a year older than me, blocked my path and pointed at my nose, shouting, "You jinx, your parents were good to you. And they died. Grandma was good to you, and she disappeared. Every day I hit and scold you. By all accounts, it should count as doing heaven's work, so why hasn't any good luck come my way?" My unemployed cousin chimed in, "You're not bullying her hard enough. What if we break one of her legs? Would that bit of merit help me land a job tomorrow?" I broke through their encirclement and ran toward the village entrance. The big yellow dog at the village entrance barked twice at me, ran ahead, and growled twice more when I stopped. I realized the big yellow dog was leading the way for me. Following the dog, I found Grandma. Grandma lay motionless by the stone, covered in mud, her emaciated body covered in wounds, his mouth slightly agape, eyes wide open, staring fixedly at the path down the mountain. Following the traces upward, I saw scattered cigarette butts on the ground, the same brand Uncle Air often smoked. I wanted to call for help, but my throat felt as if it were being strangled. Unable to make a sound, tears poured out uncontrollably as I clutched Grandma's lifeless body, shaking my head helplessly. I tried to help Grandma up, but my foot slipped, and I fell heavily to the ground. As the world spun around me, a dark mist emerged from the woods, and Big Yellow kept barking incessantly at that spot. The next second, as if seeing something terrifying, it fled in panic. The stiffened Grandma in my arms gradually softened, her cold body slowly warming up. The wound healed at a visible speed. My mind went blank, buzzing with noise. Grandma wrapped her arms around me, gently stroking my back. "Don't be afraid, my dear, Grandma is here." I buried my head and hugged her tightly. "Grandma, Grandma." When I looked up again, there was a young and unfamiliar face before me. In panic, I pushed the person away. That face rapidly aged, transforming back into my smiling grandmother. Darkness clouded my vision as I collapsed uncontrollably. I had a dream. Bizarre and fantastical, only 2 sentences stayed with me. Matter cannot be created nor destroyed, it only moves from one place to another. Good grandson, there's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Opening my eyes, I found myself lying in the courtyard. Beside me was a mahogany coffin containing Grandma's body. The next day, Uncle threw a lavish banquet. First to celebrate cousin landing $1 million a year job, and second to celebrate shedding his nickname, the Cripple. Arlie E. has been clever since childhood. This job is practically beneath him, Uncle declared triumphantly. Glancing at me, he said disdainfully, "What's the use of being good at studying? So what if you're the top student in the school? Even if you study your way out, study to the heavens, you'll still be lowly in this life." Yes, Uncle is absolutely right, I replied meekly, standing to the side with my head bowed. Seeing me grovel, my cousin smiled with satisfaction. "That's more like it. What's the point of reading so much? You wouldn't even be fit to shine my shoes in the real world, but you do have a pretty face. I'll find you a good husband. Wang Air from the village would be a good match. Sure, he's blind, but at 40, he's got some savings. Marrying him would be a bargain for you." Uncle hosted a banquet with 30 tables, treating the entire village to a free meal. Everyone was both jealous and envious. What kind of dumb luck did their family stumble upon? The eldest's lame leg was cured, the second child won $1 million, and the third, that's just beyond belief. I barely recognized her when I saw her yesterday. It's downright eerie. Winning the lottery can be chalked up to luck, but a lame leg suddenly healing and looking 20 years younger overnight, how is that even possible? And let's not forget the eldest's kid, stealing and cheating at school. Didn't even graduate from vocational high school, only has an elementary school diploma now. Rumor has it they even did time for assault. Someone like that. Yeah, my cousin is a complete and utter scoundrel. While staying at my uncle's house, he often stole money from home and would blame me whenever caught. No matter how I defended myself, no one believed me, and what awaited me was beating after beating from my uncle. The worst incident was when he stole my aunt's gold bracelet and framed me for it when discovered. I couldn't take it anymore and called the police. My uncle rushed downstairs to stop the officers, claiming it was just childish mischief. Auntie suddenly slapped me across the face. What evil intentions do you harbor, trying to get your cousin sent to jail? We've fed and clothed you. How did we raise such an ungrateful wretch? How dare you call it stealing when your cousin takes things from his own home? Let me tell you, every grain of rice you've eaten in my house without my permission, every breath you've taken here counts as theft. With that, he started beating me mercilessly again. My whole body trembled. They had known all along that I wasn't the one stealing. My uncle was a gambler, and my cousin was no better, to fuel his gambling habit. He robbed someone late at night and accidentally injured them during the struggle. At the time, he was still a minor. My uncle emptied the family's savings to compensate the victim, and after a few months in detention, he was released. Just as my cousin was holding his wine glass and pontificating loudly, a group of people burst in. Each looked fierce and menacing, wielding long knives. Damn it. You've got money for a banquet but none to pay your debts. Beat them up. The group closed in, punching and kicking my uncle's family mercilessly. The room erupted into chaos instantly, with people scrambling to hide or flee. Someone grabbed my uncle's recently healed leg and dragged him outside, while several others rushed forward and pinned him down like livestock. The leader exhaled a puff of smoke and sneered, "Oh, got money to treat your leg, money to throw a banquet, but no money to pay me back. Last time your brother paid half your debt to save your leg. If you don't repay this time, I'll make sure you never walk again." Aunt screamed and rushed forward. No, we'll pay you back. My son earns $1 million a year, just give us 1 more month, we'll pay you back right away." The man spat out his cigarette butt and grabbed cousin by the collar. $1 million a year, with skills like that, you should be able to borrow some money for emergencies. Cousin's face was full of panic. His buddies were all poorer than the next. How could they possibly lend him money? Biaoji, just 1 more month, just 1 month, I swear I'll pay you back with interest, just wait until next month to make a wish for sudden wealth. My cousin regretted deeply. He should have wished for riches first. Then he thought of something and turned to his uncle who was watching the show. "Uncle, you won $1 million, lend me some, I'll pay you back double next month." Everyone turned to look at the uncle, who shrugged helplessly. "My ID expired. I haven't claimed the prize yet." Biao Gu was furious. "Are you messing with me?" He swung the knife toward his uncle's legs, the blade grazing the inner thighs before striking the ground. His uncle was so startled that a stream of yellow liquid seeped out. "This time it landed between your legs. Next time, who knows where it'll strike?" Terrified out of his wits, his uncle roared at his aunt and cousin. "Do something, quick." Got it. Our company is one of the best. Let me call and see if I can get an advance on my salary." My cousin shakily picked up his phone. Things went surprisingly smoothly. My cousin actually managed to get a 3-month salary advance, and my aunt even brought out the gold jewelry she had hidden away. All told, it added up to 300,000. Brother Biao's expression softened considerably. "Still short 700,000. If you can't pay up next month, watch out." He waved the knife twice near his uncle's leg, then he left with his men. When his uncle recovered, he cursed at their retreating figures. "Damn it, next month I'll curse you all to die suddenly. No, worse than that, to die horribly, to live worse than death." Who would have thought they would turn back and return? Biao Ji's face turned fierce as he grabbed uncle's leg, and with a crisp snap, the ankle deformed. "Worse than death, is that it? I still prefer you crippled." Uncle was in so much pain that cold sweat poured down his face, letting out a heart-wrenching scream. I hid outside the courtyard, and when Brother Biao came out and saw me, he nodded at me. "You did well, the call was made just in time." He then pulled out a wad of cash from his pocket. "Take it, study hard, and don't follow in your uncle's family's footsteps." I pocketed the money and silently returned to school for class. The homeroom teacher called me to the office. "There's a speech competition at school, prepare well, and if you perform well, you can compete at the city level." Seeing my puzzled expression, she patted my head. "Others are going to win awards, but you're different. You need to make people notice you. We all know about your family situation. Don't worry. As long as you make it to the city-level competition, the school will cover all expenses. Just focus on preparing. Don't feel guilty, and don't think this is too opportunistic. Being able to support you is also a win-win situation for everyone involved." I understand what the teacher means, and I'll devote myself fully to preparing for the speech in the coming days. Seeing how focused I looked, my cousin snatched the draft from my hands. "You usually avoid me like the plague, and today you dare to show off in front of me. A speech competition? Ahaha, with your stage-frightened look. You dare to join a competition? That's hilarious." Her eyes darted. I want to join too. I wonder if the classmates will vote for me, or," she looked me up and down, exaggeratedly covering her mouth as she burst into laughter, "or this look of yours," she clicked her tongue twice, shaking her head as she walked away. "My cousin is jealous by nature, always trying to outdo me in everything. She didn't inherit third aunt's tall figure or pretty face. Every time she hit me, it was either aimed at my face or my legs. After my cousin was held back to my grade, she became even worse. Unable to surpass me, she resorted to spreading rumors, framing, and setting me up. Because they scored worse than me, they planted stolen test papers in my desk to frame me for cheating. When the teacher defended me, they spread malicious rumors about me and the teacher. They tore up my homework and formed cliques to isolate me. I could tolerate all of that, but she crossed the line when she burned my parents' keepsakes, just to stop me from taking the exam. That was the last trace of my parents' existence, and my only solace. The speech contest proceeded as scheduled. As soon as my cousin stepped onto the podium, gasps of surprise rose from the audience below. With her peerless beauty, my cousin gave a slight wave to the crowd below, which immediately grew restless. Apart from the first day when people were surprised by my cousin's transformation, no one found it strange afterward. It was as if she had always been this way, and the dark, chubby Li Yuan had never existed. Relying on her striking appearance, she didn't put much effort into preparing the content of her speech. She stumbled through the patchwork articles she had copied from various online sources and then skipped back to her classroom. He didn't notice the furrowed brows of the leading teacher. When it was my turn, I took a deep breath and straightened my slightly faded school uniform. The speech went smoothly, and as soon as I uttered the last syllable, thunderous applause erupted from below. Even so, many still chose my cousin. The voting weights of the leading teachers were different, and in the end, my cousin and I tied in votes. The school had no choice but to let both of us participate in the city competition. My cousin looked at me smugly. "Ultimate beauty can triumph over all effort. Someone like you is only fit for hard labor." Ever since making the wish, Grandma never woke up again, remaining seated upright in the same posture. Even so, third aunt, eldest uncle, and second uncle frequently hovered around Grandma with excessive attentiveness, whether serving tea or fanning her, putting on various displays. I remember when Grandma was still alive, the three of them argued endlessly over her elderly care. Eldest uncle snapped coldly, "I'm a cripple. It's already generous of me not to ask you for money." Yet he turned around and splurged fortunes at the gambling table. "Mom, I'm broke. I'm barely scraping by with meals." Second uncle dodged the question. The next day, he went to butter up some local thugs with fine liquor. Third aunt flaunted her newly done nails. "Taking care of parents is men's business. What's it got to do with me?" In the end, Grandma was left alone in the shabby old house to fend for herself. That day, second uncle was pacing back and forth outside the courtyard, looking anxious, holding his ID card in one hand. He hurriedly replied to messages with the other. I stopped walking and stood at a distance. A phone call came through. "Bro, even if I were to collect the prize money on your behalf, I'd still need your ID card. Please, I'm begging you, just use your identity to help me collect it. I really can't get away right now," second uncle pleaded, his voice full of desperation. Seeing that reasoning wasn't working, the person on the other end of the line grew angry. "I told you it's not possible. We're a legitimate store. Collecting on behalf of someone requires their ID card. How long could it possibly take to mail your ID?" Second uncle hung up the phone, his face filled with frustration. A few days ago at the banquet, second uncle wasn't lying. His ID card had expired long ago and he never went to renew it. Half a year ago, he was caught stealing by vigilant citizens on the spot. While being taken to the police station, he injured someone and fled, and it's still unknown whether that person survived or not. After hiding outside for several months, he finally dared to return to the village to lay low. He didn't dare to gamble. It wouldn't be worth it if he lost his life before getting the money. After all, there's a full 60 days to claim the lottery prize, next month. He can make a wish to wipe the slate clean and never have to hide again. "Uncle, did you get the money?" I walked up and asked with feigned innocence. "Get lost, scram." Uncle glared at me fiercely, pretending to be startled. I shrank back. "Okay, Uncle, you'd better keep the lottery ticket safe. I heard they're bearer instruments. Whoever finds it, keeps it." Second uncle froze momentarily. "Right, lottery tickets are bearer instruments." Could it be that the shopkeeper refused to claim it on his behalf because he wanted to keep it all for himself? At the mere thought of this possibility, he felt an overwhelming urge to kill the man with a single slash of his knife. No, leaving the lottery ticket with the shopkeeper isn't safe. He must get it back immediately. My uncle pushed past me and rushed off toward the county town. Soon, it was time for the finals of the speech competition. The city placed great importance on this event and even invited television crews to cover it. Standing backstage, I took out my script to review it one more time. What was pulled out wasn't an A4 sheet, but a crumpled draft paper scrawled with the word, bitch. I looked at my cousin, and she glared back at me. What are you looking at? You don't think I did it, do I? With just a wave of my hand. Countless people would willingly do this for me. I withdrew my gaze, refusing to be disturbed by her. Reviewing before the competition was just for peace of mind. I already had that speech memorized by heart. Dressed in a simple white shirt, I stood steadily on the stage and bowed to the audience. I began my speech. When it was my cousin's turn, she wore a long dress that accentuated her perfect waistline, with countless cameras focused on her, shutters clicking incessantly. The audience gasped in admiration at her beauty. Her eyes brimmed with pride, exuding the demeanor of a victor. The next moment, the commotion below the stage grew even louder. My cousin thought they were cheering for her. She had barely uttered a syllable when she realized something was wrong. The crisp, youthful voice she imagined did not emerge. Instead, a rough, grating sound, like scraping, echoed through the auditorium, and upon closer listening, one could almost detect the gurgle of phlegm. Gasps from the audience gradually turned into screams. My cousin's skin visibly aged, her once straight back slowly hunched over. Her jet-black hair turned white strand by strand, and her well-fitted dress was gradually stretched and torn apart by bulging flesh. In mere moments, my cousin had aged nearly 50 years, but one could still discern excellent bone structure beneath the wrinkles. She remained beautiful, just no longer young. My cousin covered her face in agony, letting out a wordless wail. The TV station cut the live broadcast, but kept the cameras trained on her, the shutter sounds growing even more frequent. The organizers stepped in to stabilize the situation, and my cousin was rushed to the hospital. My teacher and I stayed in the city for a day to rest. Seeing my worried expression, the teacher comforted me, saying, Li Yuan was the last one. Her incident won't affect the final outcome, but the competition results might not be announced until this matter settles down. What a pity. If Li Yuan hadn't gotten into trouble, you might have gotten more attention. Li Yuan is really. Before leaving, I took some time to visit Li Yuan. At the hospital, I ran into third aunt who had hurried over. She looked no more than 18, tall and slender, showing no signs of having given birth, dark circles under her eyes, her brow furrowed with hostility. The nurse stopped her. Excuse me, who are you looking for? I'm looking for my daughter. She's in room 301, room 301. There's only an elderly lady in 301. Pediatrics is in the building across the way, the nurse patiently explained. Auntie San didn't care about any of that. She shoved past the nurse and rushed up to the third floor. Lately, nothing seemed to be going right. With the savings she'd accumulated from her earlier years in the flesh trade, she opened a massage parlor. Thanks to her old connections, business was booming, but ever since she became younger, troublemakers kept showing up at her shop every now and then, and she frequently received complaints demanding rectifications. It must be competitors out of jealousy. Just wait till she finds out who's behind it. This forced her to suspend business. Now she's jobless, and her daughter is in trouble. Third aunt abruptly pushed open the door, and the first thing she saw was her daughter, now aged and frail. What's wrong with you, Anyuan? How could you become like this? Who did this to you? The sight of her young and beautiful mother completely shattered my cousin. She broke down, smashing things in the hospital and kicking and punching third aunt. Why are you so young? At first, third aunt tolerated her outburst, taking the slaps without a word, softly trying to comfort her. Not only did it not work, but it invited heavier punches. Third aunt was also provoked into a rage and slapped cousin twice fiercely. Damn it, how dare you rebel? The young dare to hit the old. Hearing this, Li Yuan thought of her own wrinkled face again, and her smashing became even more forceful. In the struggle, the four-pole was knocked over, and suddenly it struck third aunt's face. My cousin smoothly pressed the pole downward, and third aunt couldn't dodge in time, leaving a deep gash on her face that nearly reached the bone. I silently left the hospital and followed the teacher back to the county town. On the way home, the road that had been clear when we came was now completely jammed. Upon asking, I learned there had been a car accident ahead. They say a man won the lottery and went crazy with joy. He started suspecting everyone of trying to steal his ticket and even mistook a police officer for a thief. In his panic, he jumped from the 6th floor. No kidding, they say his legs were broken on the spot. Who knows if he'll even survive. Even Fan Jean only lost his mind after passing the imperial exams. Winning the lottery shouldn't cause such a scene. It was $1,000,000, who wouldn't go crazy over that? I had a vague guess of who it might be, so I bid farewell to the teacher in advance and headed toward the largest hospital in the county town. As I walked, I also pieced together the whole story. Second uncle went straight to the lottery shop upon arriving in the county town and only relaxed after getting the lottery ticket, before he could fully unwind. He ran into 2 police officers at the corner. He mistakenly thought they were coming to arrest him, so he turned and ran. The police, seeing him cower and flee at the sight of people, deemed his behavior suspicious and shouted at him to stop. Hearing this, second uncle became even more convinced of his assumption and, in a panic, scrambled upward without thinking. With nowhere left to run, he steeled his heart and jumped off the building. He had originally planned to descend floor by floor using the outdoor air conditioning units, but in a moment of carelessness, he fell from the 6th floor, landing on his knees. The lottery ticket in his arms drifted into the pool of blood and was instantly swallowed by the crimson. I peered through the glass window of the hospital room. Second uncle lay collapsed on the hospital bed, his legs missing below the knees, the empty pant legs fluttering in the breeze, outside the door. The 2 police officers hung their heads low, utterly dejected. Causing an ordinary citizen to break both legs is indeed something worth reflecting on and atoning for, but second uncle is different. He doesn't deserve anyone's sorrow. I borrowed the hospital phone to call the police. Second uncle was quickly arrested on multiple charges including intentional assault, theft, and robbery. The 2 frustrated police officers unexpectedly turned misfortune into fortune and achieved great merit. Second uncle also ended up eating public rice, thanks to his so-called money-making schemes. By the time I rushed back, 3 days had already passed. Before even entering the courtyard, I heard my cousins wailing, "Grandma, wake up quickly, you're the only one who can save me now. The company is going to sue me for resume fraud and deception. If you don't wake up soon, your grandson will end up in jail." Li Yuan had become somewhat mentally unstable after growing old and began lashing out indiscriminately. "Ha ha ha, you with your so-called $1,000,000 salary, good at nothing, exposed the moment you stepped in. Serves you right, ha ha ha, you damn old hag, always running your mouth." My cousin grabbed my cousin's sister's hair and dragged her along the way. My cousin's sister bit down hard on my cousin brother's hand, her teeth trembling with the force as she tore off a chunk of flesh. No longer holding back, my cousin brother kicked her face repeatedly. Aunt Sen watched coldly with half her face wrapped in gauze as the 2 fought. Uncle crawled to Grandma's feet. "Mom, please wake up." He borrowed money again to treat his leg, but everyone around knew he was a gambler and no one was willing to lend. Left with no choice, he resorted to cheating at the gambling table, only to get caught. This time, no one bailed him out, and his other good leg was ruined too. Third aunt also knelt on the ground, crying out, "Mom, please wake up." Perhaps the plea was too heart-wrenching, for Grandma, who had been sitting upright, opened her eyes. "Good children, the time has not yet come. Why are you in such a hurry?" Seeing Grandma wake up, the 2 who were fighting stopped, and the one who was wailing also quieted down. In unison, they kowtowed to Grandma. "I want to make a second wish." They spoke in unison. Grandmother looked troubled. "The time has not yet come." "I don't possess such profound powers." Another chorus of painful pleas arose. "Enough, enough, with only half my power now, I can barely attempt it." My cousin was the first to speak up. "I want endless money. With money alone, would he fear them suing?" Grandma shook her head. My cousin settled for second best. "Then I want to keep this job." The next second, the phone rang. "Li, you can come back to work. The company needs you." "Uncle, I want money. Give me $1,000,000. The next moment, the blood-stained lottery ticket appeared out of thin air. "Aunt, I want peerless beauty." The winding wound instantly healed. "Cousin, I want to stay forever young." In an instant, my cousin reverted to her original dark and plump appearance. This time she was no longer beautiful, but she was very young. Everyone got what they wanted, and no one cared about the disappearance of second uncle. As soon as third aunt stepped out the door, she bumped into a robust middle-aged woman. The middle-aged woman shouted at the top of her voice, "Which one of you is Li Huaxin?" Third aunt froze. "That's me." The middle-aged woman kicked third aunt squarely in the chest. Without giving her a chance to catch her breath, she grabbed her by the hair and slammed her hard onto the road. Only then did she notice the dense crowd behind the middle-aged woman. Among the crowd was also a completely naked man, tightly bound with ropes. The middle-aged woman slapped third aunt across the face and stomped on the man's head. "Filthy adulterers, today, I'm delivering heaven's justice. Strip this slut naked, since she loves sneaking around so much, let her have her fill today." Before third aunt could struggle, her clothes were torn off completely. The villagers wanted to mediate, but the middle-aged woman dismissed them with a few sharp words. "That bitch locked my 3-year-old daughter outside in the freezing winter just so she could go cheat, nearly freezing my child to death. Could you tolerate that? That vile woman even persuaded her lover to buy expensive insurance for my daughter. What wicked intentions." Those who had originally intended to mediate began cursing instead. The middle-aged woman took out a whip, spat liquor onto it, and lashed the two of them repeatedly. Some elderly villagers murmured in confusion. "Isn't that old Lee's third daughter? Why are you stealing people again? If it weren't for the youngest Lee back then, things probably would have gotten even worse than this." The old man shook his head. "What a pity, died so young." A day later, third aunt was thrown into the yard, naked and covered in wounds. She lay half dead on the ground. The middle-aged woman dragged the barely breathing man toward the village outskirts. Passing by me, she stopped to thank me. I replied, "It's me who should thank you. If it weren't for you back then, would have really fallen into their trap. Now I just casually send a message. It doesn't really count as helping." Before long, uncle, cousin, and brother gathered again in this small courtyard. My once plump cousin had grown old and dark-skinned. My cousin wailed bitterly, saying the company had made him the legal representative, and now that the company had fled, all the debts had fallen on him. Uncle slammed the lottery ticket on the table. "The numbers on this ticket are smudged. They said it can't be cashed." Grandma sighed. "Perhaps the heart wasn't sincere enough, so the wish didn't come true." "Impossible, impossible. My heart was the most sincere." They kowtowed again with loud thuds, their foreheads nearly bleeding. Grandma waved her hand grandly, and several bowls appeared in the courtyard. A few talisman papers floated above the bowls, at her command. The papers ignited spontaneously, and the ashes drifted into the bowls, blending with the water. "This talisman water can test sincerity. Drink it, then kowtow 3 more times loudly, and my power will greatly increase." Several people rushed forward to grab the talisman water. Even third aunt crawled forward, stretching her body to seize a bowl. The talisman water emitted a strange odor, a mix of foul stench and sour rot. Without hesitation, they gulped it down ravenously. Then they kowtowed 3 times with loud thuds. A faint golden light seemed to surround Grandma as she slowly opened her eyes. "My powers have recovered somewhat, but they're only enough for one person's wish. Who do you think I should grant it to?" My cousin's pupils contracted slightly, and he immediately grabbed a stick to take care of one of them. The other 2 reacted quickly as well. After a while, my cousin, with the advantage of youth, defeated the others. He knelt before Grandma and said, "Grandma, I won. Grant my wish." Grandma smiled and said, "Good grandson, come here." My cousin crawled forward on his knees. Grandma looked past him at me, and seeing I hadn't moved, stood up and walked toward me. "My dear granddaughter, do you have any wishes? Can I wish for anything?" Grandma smiled. "Of course, I want Mom, Dad, and Grandma to come back to life," I replied firmly. The smile on Grandma's lips froze, and after a moment, she spoke again. "Do you know what price you'll have to pay?" "I don't care, as long as they can come back to life. I don't care what price I have to pay." Grandma sighed and tapped me lightly on the head, opening my eyes again. Mom, Dad, and Grandma were standing right in front of me, alive and well. Overjoyed, I threw myself into their arms. Mom cupped my face in her hands, planted a kiss on my cheek, and said with a grin, "Such a big kid and still so shameless." Dad rubbed my head and said, "You've had a tough time living alone. From now on, our family will never be apart again." Grandma took my hand and led me to the courtyard gate. She gently pushed me toward the outside, saying, "Good granddaughter, walk forward and don't look back." I found myself back in that courtyard again. The uncle who was still breathing suddenly lost all signs of life. The second uncle in prison also abruptly stopped breathing. The cousin's kneeling body tilted to one side. "I'm sorry. The dead cannot be brought back to life. All I can offer you is an illusion." Grandma transformed back into that young, unfamiliar woman. "One last stroke of luck for you." As soon as the words fell, third aunt and cousin's bodies instantly went limp. "Why did you help me?" She smiled at me and said, "Acting on behalf of heaven to uphold justice accumulates merit. Helping you is a win-win situation that brings both fame and fortune." That's all I remember. In the hospital room, 2 police officers stood by the bed, scrutinizing me. The older officer slammed the notebook onto the table. "Returning on the 7th day to fulfill wishes. You've had 9 years of compulsory education. Do you really believe that when you say it? I looked bewildered, my eyes empty as I stared at them. The female officer beside me sighed. Forget it, you just woke up and can't tell dreams from reality, get some rest first. With that, she pulled the older officer out of the room. The poor girl has suffered enough, losing her entire family with only herself left. Give her a couple of days to recover. Besides, no traces of poisoning were found at the scene. They were just unlucky, drank some so-called holy water, passed out from poisoning, then burned charcoal without opening windows, leading to carbon monoxide poisoning. If the girl hadn't been near the door, in the future, we need to strengthen public education. I actively underwent treatment and recovered quickly. Even the old injuries on my legs vanished completely. After being discharged from the hospital, to celebrate my new life, I bought a lottery ticket and won 1 million. A few months later, I successfully won first prize in the city's speech competition. This time, without Li Yuan, I received a lot of attention. Many kind-hearted people were willing to sponsor me, arranging for me to attend the best high school in Jing City to receive a better education. On the eve of my departure, the policewoman found me. May I ask you a question? Of course, I replied with a smile. The two of us walked together along the field ridge. How could you know in your dream that the city would hold a speech competition? Gazing at the blooming rapeseed flowers, I murmured, these flowers bloom every March. Sorry, I was a bit distracted, officer. You said it was a dream. Things in dreams aren't clear to me either. And the lottery? The female officer seemed about to ask something more. On the main road, an expensive car came to a stop, and someone inside waved at me. The person who sponsored me was a prominent figure in Jing City. The female officer didn't press further and just patted me on the shoulder. Forget it, move forward and don't look back anymore. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.